Okay, so we'll just ahead of one person, but Colin's here, I see down the back. So if you'd like to come up front, please, Colin, that'd be good.
Kia ora koutou.
Every time I see you, it reminds me of our friend Keith.
Right. I'm here for my annual bleat on why is no one listening to these criticals? Sorry? Oh, you. Simple, cheap, and endlessly repeated proposals for our well-being and joy. We need to be more aspirational and promote all of our special assets. I hosted Chinese students, teachers and parents on a 3-day extravaganza of Otautahi a few months ago on what most visitors miss out on. Moving on, we need to demand, together with all councils and iwi of the Super South, a fair deal on central government investment in Te Waka o Maui, not Ika, as I wrote, for the AAA light commuter rail arc into the city. Let's have our stadium labelled the National Stadium. The new bioeconomy head office here, the amalgamation of a whole of CRIs, needs to be maintained here in Christchurch or Lincoln. Our new medical school that's being proposed could be here, why not? We've already got half of it here already. We need to get our museum rebuilt through central government funding, like they fund all of the northern museums. Word has it that Plant and Food up in Hamilton are gunning for the head office of that new institution to be in Hamilton, where the Golden Triangle is, where all of the country's resources are being poured. We have to stop this rot now for the South Island and stop being hollowed out. We cannot afford to lose this last New Zealand head office out of Te Waiponamu. If you want an indicator of economic strength, then you need to have influence, career paths, bureaucrat offices and investment with all the associated spillover into the domestic economy. This is so important. We need to shout from the rooftops that we're beautiful, diverse, full of energy, viable, inclusive, prosperous, etc., and joyful. And I have all my usual pictures there. Promote our New Zealand's first urban Great Walk, which celebrates the diversity, which is open all the time, not just when the main great walks in the national parks are open because of weather effects or lack of accommodation. We need to consult a wider range of ecologists, how to integrate nature and urban living, not be afraid of densification all the time. We need to expand our identity by visual dominance of indigenous trees and plants, and promote what I call the 10K capital city of golden winters. You can explain more of that later if you wish. Moving along here, I realise the time's going. We need a constellation of halo generating eco-sanctuaries, as has been hugely invested in the North Island. We're missing out in a big way, both in terms of the effect on identity and in terms of conservation of our rare and endangered species. That was there. We can be the first national park city in New Zealand for a change. And we should, I believe, abandon the unaffordable rebuild of a fake cathedral, that'll be controversial, and retain the authentic historic roots like we didn't do with the Basilica. It's the Coventry Cathedral model. It exists. It's not new. It's we should be applying that and have a real history in this land. I've been promoting this kind of concept of this platform of peace for decades, since the earthquakes, and it's still not happening. And yet, for evil to triumph, it only takes good people or busy people to do nothing. And that's what we seem to keep doing. We can't afford to wait. We're facing serious, major existential crises in the world. I've also been requesting citizen assemblies for years. Everyone just nods their head. still waiting to see them. You know, we need to, there's a wider base of expertise out there that wants to be involved, and they don't need to be paid. They can just, will do it for nothing, I can tell you, as one has been doing. All these proposals essentially cost nothing if devised by citizen assemblies with quadruple bottom line skill sets. The knowledge is already out there. These ideas have been tested with service clubs, NGOs, students and visitors, and they all pretty much love it, I can tell you. Now, we are the most popular city in the country, it seems, and our universities are. It's partly because of the lower cost of living here, but we've got to avoid shooting ourselves in the foot and killing the goose that lays the golden egg. Keep the cost of living down, not speculating on property, etc., and focus on quality of life rather than endless growth of material consumption. We can be, more than what I believe Christchurch NZ and the Chamber of Commerce generally tend to let fall under the radar. So my main final points are bring in these quadruple bottom line citizen assemblies. There's people out there that want to contribute, and that we can help and build this wonderful city together with the council. We need to get more central government investment and to march on Parliament to do that, together with all of the other governments and iwi around the South Island. We need those head offices on the South Island, the other points that I've made. Market our natural and cultural assets for long-stay ecotourism, celebrate and be a model and beacon on positive action and more sort of progressive human nature to maintain the popularity that we've currently got, and to spread this halo around the country and, of course, out to the wider world. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. Tyler, please.
Yeah, I made it this time.
You're doing all right.
Kia ora, Colin. Good to see you. I just have a question, and it sort of encapsulates everything you've been talking about. You were doing some work in the Riccarton ward in Take It Place. How's that tracking along at the moment?
Seems to be stalled.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure why. I know the local residents there keep raising it periodically, probably with yourself and others.
Yeah.
But nothing seems to be happening there. Happy to help when I can. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Cheers.
Mm-hmm. It's just creating another one of those little nodes of stepping stones of nature through the landscape. I've had a student this morning actually at former councillor Barbara Stewart's place looking at all the regeneration of tūtara seedlings around a giant tūtara she's got at the bottom of her property. So, things are happening in terms of nature and regeneration, and it's part of, symbolic of regeneration of the whole city and our lives, I believe.
Okay, good. Thank you, Colin. It's always good to see. Celeste.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the breadth of your vision. In terms of any specific actions apart from those that you've mentioned, in relation to the annual plan, is there anything that you would like to see more of in terms of budgets or priorities, sort of really tangible things that we can ask for?
Look, I had in my original intro, I realise that this is more to do with the kind of long-term 10-year plan, but we don't have time to wait for that. I don't have time to read, these plans. I know more broadly, the day-to-day activities that you've got to be budgeting for. I'm actually sort of basically, offering a concept which doesn't need to cost anything, or very little, minimal. We can come and meet in your meeting rooms and stuff. We had a biodiversity advisory group some years ago, but it just sort of there was no internal kind of energy to maintain it. It was partly due to all sorts of changes going on there. But I'm a parochial Cantabrian. I want to see this place be better, and it can be, and happy to help do that.
Okay. So in terms of one possible action that we can request, we do have a biodiversity policy advisor that's been employed recently. So it might be something that we could seek to engage with you through that particular person.
Yeah, sure.
So we can request that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I know the local biodiversity experts in the council, but I wasn't aware of that particular thing. And okay. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time, Colin. Good
Yep.
to see you.
Christchurch 360 Trail, leading a group round there in the walking festival.
Good work. Fiona, please.